Live from Fargo and serving you on TV, online, and on the go. This is Valley News Live at 10.
It's an important topic to address now, yesterday, tomorrow, and days to come.
West Fargo city leaders are taking action in hopes of diving deeper into the issue of discrimination in the city and ending it. Mayor Bernie Dardis and leaders met with consultants to come up with a way to create a climate of inclusion. Valley News Team's Katie Opperly takes a look at what the next steps for the city will be.
Anytime that there's people that feel that they're disenfranchised or that there are people working against them, that's not the kind of community that West Fargo is, or we certainly don't want it to represent.
Mayor Bernie Dardis says in the last 6 weeks, people within the community have come forward asking if there is more that can be done to evaluate the current climate of West Fargo and to address discrimination and barriers to equality.
When I've met with some of the leaders of One Fargo and Black Lives Matter, there were issues there, you know, where they started talking about racial profiling, for example, and what they, you know, and their concerns, their worries are real.
City leaders met with Ubuntu Consulting for a fresh perspective on developing a plan.
We're going to address this hour by hour, day by day, week by week, month by month, and if necessary, year by year. This has to be an ongoing, and until we feel, and the people that are feeling disenfranchised, until we have a comfort level with one another. We can't continue to have our communities having a protest march every week.
The deep dive will explore all aspects of the community, including law enforcement, government, and education. City leaders, community members, and consultants will all work together. Dardis says they have already discussed assessment tools and community outreach and will take their findings before the full city commission on July 6th. In West Fargo, Katie Opperly, Valley News Live.
West Fargo residents are invited to get involved. To learn how, click on this story on the VNL News app. The family of a woman who died in a hit and run in Pembina County is asking why the driver has not been charged. Cammie Leland was killed last year in May near Drayton. Law enforcement say she was hit by a car after the driver saw her boyfriend standing in the middle of the roadway with a rifle. The driver and passenger weren't tested at the scene for alcohol or drugs. Instead, deputies arrested her boyfriend, Matthew Hilton, and charged him with manslaughter and terrorizing.
He said, "Cammie, please don't die. I love you." Squeeze my hand. And she squeezed once. And I got the reports, and they figured that she lived 3 minutes.
Hilton died by suicide a few months following the arrest. Leland's family says that authorities charged the wrong person. We invite you to tune in at Valley News Live at 6 tomorrow. We're going to explore problems with the investigation. The family contacted us through our whistleblower hotline, and if you need help with an issue in your community, call our whistleblower hotline. The phone number's on your screen, 701-237-6576. Call that number, leave your tip. A member of our investigative team will get on the case and go to work to expose the truth. The man accused of killing Grand Forks police officer Cody Holte is now in jail after his release from the hospital. 41-year-old Salama Pendleton, who opened fire when police attempted to serve an eviction notice, faces 2 counts of murder for the deaths of Holte and 61-year-old Lola Moore. He is also charged with several counts of attempted murder, terrorizing, criminal mischief, and reckless endangerment. His bond stands at $1 million. President Trump tweeted this week, quote, "Because of mail-in ballots, 2020 will be the most rigged election in our nation's history," end quote. He goes on to say that they're using COVID to cheat, despite voting records showing the president voted through mail-in ballots in the past. North Dakota's election director says he's confident fraud prevention efforts led to a safe, accurate vote during the state's first ever fully mail-in election earlier this month. Just like in-person voting, you must prove that you have an acceptable ID to get a ballot. For mail-in voting, your signature must match on your application and your ballot. He says either way, it's important to ensure those who can vote can, and that they are who they say they are.
You have the identification that we've compared signatures. So I wouldn't say that it's totally foolproof or fail-proof on either side, but in both cases, I mean, you have existing processes to allow for the capture of integrity of voters.
Newby says any political debate in the election process is bad for the country as a whole. North Dakota is reporting 7 new cases of COVID-19, but it's not because of a downward trend. State health officials are reporting a delay in lab results. In addition to those 7 cases, there is a new reported death. The victim is a woman in her 40s from Cass County with underlying health conditions. The rest of the delayed numbers are expected to be released tomorrow. In Minnesota, the state health department is confirming 245 new COVID cases with 9 additional deaths linked to the virus. Health officials say this brings the death toll in Minnesota to 1,393. The 245 new cases reported brings the active case total to 2,677. More than 29,000 people have recovered. Governor Doug Burgum is beginning to rescind executive orders and relax some restrictions. One affects drivers. By September 1st, all expired driver's license and driver registrations will need to be renewed. The governor said that the Department of Transportation has their work ahead of them.
NDDOT is working to address the backlog of over 20,650 license renewals and over 48,000 motor vehicle registrations, all of which expired during the COVID emergency, and those are all covered under this executive order. But again, between those two, it's about 70,000 transactions that need to be completed in the next 10 weeks between now and August 31st.
The governor also announced a private-public partnership with Blue Cross and Blue Shield of North Dakota, which will be calling people to inform them that their COVID-19 test came back negative. Between the oil crash and the pandemic, many North Dakotans are struggling to make ends meet. The federal government issued stimulus payments, but not to those who aren't required to file taxes, such as low-income households. Non-filers should use the tool if their income is less than $12,200, or if filing jointly their income is less than $24,400, or if the non-filer has no income. The IRS will use this information to determine your eligibility and payments amount and send a stimulus check.
Many conversations, with people on the radio, calling in and asking if I don't have a filing requirement, how is that check going to get to me? So I'm really glad the IRS took, the initiative and the time to actually build that system.
After registering for the payment, non-filers will receive an email saying whether the submission was successful. The tool will remain available through October 15th. The newest crime statistics are out for North Dakota, and while the overall number of crimes has gone down by 1%, North Dakota's Attorney General Wayne Stenjum says there's a glaring exception. The AG says that the number that stands out is the homicide count. 2019 saw 26 homicides, an all-time state record.
This is something that we're very concerned about here in North Dakota. You can see on the chart here that what's happening. We're always careful to remind people, don't ever look year over year because we have relatively few compared to other states. Plus we have relatively few people, and you can see that it can roller coaster up and down.
Drug arrests in North Dakota have nearly doubled from 2010 to 2018, but declined last year. Stenjum says that's good news, but the nature of the drug trafficking is changing. He says the state is seeing larger amounts and more powerful drugs coming to North Dakota. An 8-year-old boy took on a responsibility beyond his years. He saved his 6-year-old brother's life. And now first responders are honoring his bravery. Morgan Benth has our story.
The two brothers were playing in their backyard at South Bay when one of them fell in. 8-year-old Sparky says he ran as fast as he could to save his younger brother. Today, first responders awarded him for his bravery.
I went right under him and grabbed him.
Sparky tells the story of how he saved his brother from drowning. Soon, many had heard the story, including officers who wanted to find a way to honor his act of heroism. The Burleigh County Sheriff's Office made the young first responder an honorary water rescue team member.
There you go. He wants to be a police officer, something fierce. So I think something like that's going to make a huge impact on him, and I think he's well deserved.
North Dakota Highway Patrol leaders also awarded him with the Colonel's Award of Excellence for his bravery. They say they're thankful they didn't have to respond to a call that day.
We respond to these types of calls a lot, and sometimes they end in tragedy. So when we get the opportunity to celebrate a heroic citizen, we really appreciate that, because this heroic citizen happened to be an 8-year-old boy.
Sparky also seems glad he was there to help.
I was crying at the end because I was so happy I did it.
And now him and his brother never have to be apart.
Sparky's family says they're grateful for his heroism and for the support from first responders in that Bismarck area. Good news tonight, the Boys of Summer will be returning to action. Major League Baseball Commissioner Robert D. Manfred Jr. announcing that Major League Baseball anticipates beginning its 2020 regular season approximately 1 month from today on July 23rd or July 24th. The announcement follows the Players Association accepting the health and safety protocols that will guide MLB's return to play. Their proposed 60-game regular season schedule will largely feature divisional play. The vast majority of Major League clubs are expected to conduct training at the ballparks in their primary home cities.